Have you ever stood on the edge of despair, collapsed, with everything seemingly falling apart? Your emotions shattered, your reason paralyzed. And yet, somehow, you made it through. Not because of your strength, not because of your abilities, but thanks to an invisible force holding you up. A quiet yet undeniable presence, as if something or someone was walking beside you. What if I told you that the events you call coincidences were never random? That they are disguised messages, signs from a deeper order that silently, ceaselessly watches over you? Carl Jung, the great psychoanalyst, believed in a layer of consciousness deeper than the individual, the collective unconscious. In this realm, ancient archetypes operate silently, sending signals to our soul, guiding us when the mind is lost. This isn't superstition. It is the inner depth modern humanity has forgotten. And when you begin to look back on your journey, you might realize you were never truly walking alone. So how can you know if you're being protected by a higher force? Here are 5 subtle but unmistakable signs that something beyond logic, deeper than emotion, is quietly supporting and guiding you each day. Stay until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share could forever change the way you see your life. And the 5th sign isn't just a sign, it's living proof that you're aligned with your true self. Sign 1. A power holds you back from wrong decisions. There are moments in life where you stand at a crossroads. All logic tells you to proceed. It's a good opportunity, perfect timing, ideal conditions. But then, something arises, unclear, without reason, just a vague feeling, like someone placing a hand on your chest and whispering, "Stop." You can't explain it, but you know that if you press forward, something will go wrong. Have you ever faced a relationship that puzzled you, a job that seemed perfect, or an offer that felt like a dream? But just as you were about to commit, your heart pounded, your hand hesitated. No voice spoke, no alarm sounded, only a strange silence pulling you away. That wasn't fear, it was primal intuition, a voice from a deeper part of you beyond thought, speaking up to protect you from what you couldn't yet see. And then, time passed. You looked back and saw clearly. Had you taken that step, it might have led to the wrong path, a draining spiral, a loss you couldn't recover from. You weren't lucky or clever. You were held back by a force, silent, patient, asking nothing of you but to trust that unspoken feeling. Imagine you're about to sign a contract with a major company. High salary, great reputation, dream position. Everyone congratulates you. You're ready. But as you bring pen to paper, an uneasy feeling wells up. You pause. No clear reason. You ask for more time. Weeks later, the company is embroiled in scandal, mass resignations, toxic culture revealed, reputation crumbles. Then you understand. You were pulled back from the edge without even knowing. This isn't a rare story. Many people have said, "I don't know why I didn't do it, but something held me back, and I'm grateful." Carl Jung believed we are guided not only by our conscious mind, what we know and control, That was synchronicity, a concept Jung created to describe events not linked by cause, but occurring together to create inner meaning. When you're stopped at the right moment, you're not just spared from harm. You're being steered toward a path more true to you, even if you couldn't yet see it. But the hardest part of this sign lies in its names: the unconscious, the intuitive. You won't have immediate proof. Others may doubt you. You might ask yourself, am I just being too sensitive? But over time, through the outcomes of your intuitive choices, you'll realize true protection doesn't come from reason. It comes from a place in you still connected to the sacred. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." If you learn to listen to the wordless signals from deep within, those instincts urging you to stop, you begin to awaken from the blind fate people think they cannot control and step into a life of guidance and light. Sign 2, peace that doesn't come from logic. But not every moment gives you time to weigh your options or walk away. Sometimes, everything collapses before your eyes. You don't get to choose or escape. Your only option is to stand still in the eye of the storm. And right then, in what feels like the end, amid chaos, pain, and despair, a strange peace appears. Not one you created, not from forced positivity, not from anyone holding you and saying, "It will be okay." This peace has no reason, no condition. It simply arrives, like a living presence entering your chest and calming your heart. This is the second sign, peace. Strangely, this peace isn't artificial. It's a vibration of protection from within. That moment isn't self-made. It's a gentle yet profound intervention from a force beyond rational understanding, a form of safety that needs no explanation. Picture a young mother who's just endured a traumatic loss after childbirth. Each night is a storm of emotion. She cries, rages, and drowns in guilt and helplessness. But one morning, as sunlight filters through the hospital curtain, she feels a quiet inside her chest. She doesn't understand it. No one has healed her pain. But she knows. She will not break. She didn't rise by her own strength, but by a force that entered her at the exact moment she needed it. Do you think that kind of peace is a sign of protection? Have you ever experienced such a moment? If so, share your story in the comments. Your words might become comfort for someone else walking through their storm. Jung called this recovery from the unconscious. He believed the unconscious holds not just darkness, but healing energy, a kind of light deep within the soul. And when we fall into the abyss, that very place becomes the stage for light to emerge. Jung believed that when all resistance collapses, when the ego stops struggling, our true self, unguarded and raw, finally creates space for higher guidance and presence to appear. Jung named it numinous, a sacred force beyond words. It offers no reasons or promised outcomes. It simply holds you from within, and you feel it not with logic, but with your heart. Many might ask, why doesn't this divine force step in before the suffering begins? The answer is, because pain is often necessary for awakening. Not all suffering can be avoided, but the unnecessary kind, the kind that might destroy you, is what you're being protected from. One thing you learn through repeated experiences of pain is this: the deepest peace doesn't come from changing outer conditions. It rises from within. Many believe healing must show as action, writing goals, working out, and learning new skills. But the deepest healing often comes the moment you accept your pain and stop resisting it. In that conscious surrender, a space opens, not for escape, but for support. And you realize, you don't need to earn your safety. You already have it. The beautiful part is, this force doesn't only act in silence. Once you begin to accept it, to listen, to live in tune with its frequency, it begins to speak to you. Not in human language, but in signals, in what seem like random details. You start to see, the silence you once experienced wasn't the absence of the sacred. It was the pause before a new kind of communication. That's when the third sign emerges. The outer world begins to whisper back, as if the universe is answering what you haven't yet dared to say aloud. Sign 3. Strange coincidences arrive at the right time. These signals don't arrive with thunder. They come quietly. A song plays just as you're breaking down. A phrase overheard at a cafe answers the exact question you've been asking silently. Or a stranger's glance is so tender, it makes you feel seen, understood, without a single word. Modern people live in a world too loud. It rarely allows time to look inward. It makes us believe that everything needs proof, logic, and structure. But some things aren't meant to be analyzed. They're meant to be felt. And once you begin to notice them, you can't unsee them. It's a feeling, a subtle tremble beneath your skin when nothing visible has your life. Maybe you had a dream about someone you hadn't seen in years, and they called you the next day. Maybe you sensed unease about an upcoming event, and it turned chaotic. These aren't superstitions. They're your ability to read frequencies most ignore. The presence of these signs is also how a higher force trains you to trust your intuition, because answers won't always be clear. Sometimes you only get a fragment. The rest depends on faith. You can choose to ignore these signals. Many do, but they return to the same old roads, feeling lost, stuck in the wrong choices, until life pulls them back through an unexpected crisis, a sudden event, to remind them Something is still holding you. You just weren't ready to see it. So when you begin to notice small events that carry deep personal meaning, don't dismiss them. Pause, breathe, listen, ask, write, feel. That might just be the message you've been waiting for. Maybe no one believes you. Maybe you fear you're imagining things. But if your heart beats faster, if your eyes tear up for a moment, it's real. And the more you believe it, the clearer the connections become. The signs come more often, and doubt fades. You begin to live not just by sight and sound, but by awareness. Because once you learn to read the signs of the world, you realize the universe is never silent. It has always been speaking. It was only waiting for you to be still enough to hear. Sign 4. Your intuition becomes a living compass. When signs from the outside world have built your trust in a higher presence walking beside you, the next miracle unfolds somewhere deeper, inside you. The whispers are no longer external. A voice begins to speak from within your own soul. Sign 4 reveals itself when your inner compass starts to guide you, but only if you have the courage to listen. Not with your ears, but with the part of you that has been burned and still survived. The part of you that knows what it means to be broken and not destroyed. Sometimes you become your own messenger. There are no obvious signs, no clear symbols. But something inside you urges, stop, turn, go back. You can't explain it, but you know. That is intuition. The soul's rawest and oldest language. And because the soul doesn't seek comfort but wholeness, that wholeness often demands something fall apart. Have you ever looked back at a tragedy and felt an unspeakable gratitude? A pain that changed you, a reversal that saved you, a collapse that stripped everything false and left only what was essential. That was not random. That was design. Psychology, you see, has its own timing. And the ego, that deep organizing principle inside you, conspires to bring you into alignment. But it does not do so gently. The greater the protection, the more subtle its form. It does not guard the ego's path. It guards your essence. And often, that means dismantling the life you thought you wanted. Terrifying, isn't it? To realize you may be protected from yourself, from your illusions, your projections, the persona you built to please the world. What do you think about this idea of ego intervention? Have you experienced or witnessed something like it? Leave a comment so we can reflect together. When a higher power protects you, it begins by removing everything that does not truly belong to you. And it does so ruthlessly. This is why most people confuse divine protection with punishment. They don't realize it's keeping them from being destroyed. You might resist. You will resist. Because the ego clings to what it knows, even when what it knows is killing it. You will call it a mistake. You will mourn what leaves. But beneath that mourning, something ancient stirs. A wordless knowing. A remembering not of something learned, but of something you are. But here lies the danger. This path requires bravery, because synchronicity isn't decoration. It's direction. It's the self-correcting your course. But its messages are never literal. It's not GPS. It's a compass. You must interpret. You must feel your way forward, and most won't. They retreat into the comfort of what's visible. They demand logic where it doesn't belong. They kill the symbol with analysis. The ego craves truth, but truth destroys truth. So when everything you've built begins to rot, don't run. That decay might be your rebirth. That silence might be the first sound of a language you haven't yet learned. a sacred dialect spoken in symbols, in darkness, in pain. If you're hearing this, you've likely tasted that unraveling. You've sat in a room that once held your joy and heard only echoes. You've touched a face you loved and felt the coldness of something already gone. You've stared at your reflection and whispered, "Who am I now?" And in that whisper, you were not alone. That was not despair. That was ego awakening. Protection is not found in rebuilding what was lost. It's found in surrendering to what you are becoming. And if you trace it far enough back, you'll see it always leads to you. This cannot be proven. It can only be felt in the skin, the bones, the electric stillness between thoughts. Protection is not avoidance. It is confrontation, the kind that makes healing possible. Jung called this ability perception via the unconscious. You don't analyze, you feel. And that feeling, if you're attuned enough to hear it, is often the most reliable message there is. When you live close to the unconscious, especially the collective unconscious that Jung described in the archetypes, and the collective unconscious, you begin to recognize the shared patterns in human pain. You don't need to know someone's background or what they've been through. Just being near them is enough to sense the inner struggle they can't articulate. Because at that level, emotions lose their personal edge. They become symbols. Averted eyes might symbolize shame. A harmless joke might hide years of loneliness. And you, with your finely tuned intuition, see what others miss, hear what others never say. Many people with strong intuition have doubted themselves, because when everyone insists everything's fine, you're the only one who feels something is deeply off. You wonder, am I just imagining this? But the truth is, what you feel is not exaggeration, it's perception. Modern society glorifies reason so much that we forget the soul also listens. And somehow, you still carry that ability intact. Here's a simple example. Have you ever heard someone say something ordinary, yet your eyes filled with tears because you knew in that moment they were carrying unspoken pain? Have you ever felt a lump in your throat watching someone laugh too loudly? These are not coincidences. You are reading the unconscious. And the unconscious, even when repressed, always finds a way to speak through the smallest detail. In psychotherapy, this ability is seen as a key to understanding the client beyond words. Jung once recounted working with a patient who showed no progress, and he couldn't figure out why. Until he had a dream in which the patient was being swallowed by darkness. When he shared that dream, the patient broke down in tears. She had never told him about the suicidal thoughts that haunted her. But Jung had felt it, not through her actions, but through the unconscious reflected in the dream, in the energy. He wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good. The unconscious holds both shadow and light, and you, with your deep intuition, are touching that terrain, the place where the truth is most hidden, but also holds the greatest healing power." But carrying this kind of intuition is also a challenge. You often feel drained in chaotic environments. You sense too much. A small talk conversation can exhaust you if someone is clearly trying to hold back what they can't face. A crowded party makes you want to leave early, not because you're shy, but because the emotional atmosphere is thick with repressed tension. Sometimes you feel breathless and don't know why, but your body knows. Your unconscious has already picked up the message before your logic catches up. That's why those with this spiritual sensor must learn how to filter signals and protect their energy. Jung never encouraged relying too heavily on intuition without a solid foundation of consciousness to provide balance. Intuition without boundaries can pull you into other people's pain. Jung called the process of mastering this individuation the integration of your whole self, conscious, unconscious, shadow, and light. Only then does your intuition stop being a burden and become a sacred guide helping you shape life with depth, refinement, and compassion. Living with this energy is like carrying an invisible antenna. You don't try to hear, but you do. You don't try to see, but you do. And the truth is, what you sense, even if no one confirms it, is real. Carl Jung once wrote, Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. You don't need logical proof. You just need the courage to trust what your heart already knows. And if you've ever felt alone with this intuition, know that it's not a curse. It's a reminder that you've already come far in the journey back to your true self. In a world obsessed with noise, you are someone who reads the breath of silence. When others need words to understand, you only need to feel the slightest vibration to know what's really going on. That is a rare gift. And if you are living with it, you are a mirror that reflects without needing light. A place where others see what they once feared, but now feel safe enough to face. So if you feel something even when no one says a word, trust that you're not imagining things. You're touching the deepest layer of the human experience. And that is the second sign that you are living with a powerful spiritual energy, one that rises from depth, not surface, from truth, not illusion, from the unconscious, where we are all connected. If what you just read made you nod quietly, if you've ever sensed things that no one around you would say aloud and never knew what to call it, then maybe you've carried this gift for a long time. Feel free to share in the comments. Have you ever had a moment when your intuition knew something was wrong, even though no one said it, no one admitted it? We'd love to hear your story, because sometimes your silent truth might be exactly what for withdrawal, pulling back from the surface to reconnect with the depth. In the Red Book, he described entering his own darkness not to hide, but to rediscover the spiritual structure disturbed by the outer world. He didn't see retreat as avoidance. He saw it as sacred. Solitude, when approached with the right intent, doesn't take you away from life. It prepares you to return to it more truly. Have you ever felt it? After days of connection, conversation, and openness, you start to feel blurry, irritable, unfocused, and disconnected from what's real. That's your soul speaking. Stop. Come home. And home here isn't a place, it's a state. a state where you can sit with yourself, no roles, no defenses. In that stillness, the scattered parts begin to return. Intuition stirs, meaning begins to form. You do nothing, yet everything starts to realign. That's the unconscious doing its work, like calm water clearing itself after a storm. You're not alone because you enjoy solitude. You need solitude to not lose yourself. And this is something the modern world often misunderstands. It fears silence. It fears separation. It fears not being seen or heard. But you know that silence isn't emptiness. It's the deepest space where truth is born. Jung didn't just live in the Bollingen Tower. He let his soul live within a rebuilt inner structure, made possible by conscious detachment. And you too are doing that every time you choose to stop, instead of pushing forward. Your solitude isn't barren. It isn't cold. It's sacred ground, where spiritual energy recovers after you've opened, connected, and felt too much. Like a mirror that must be wiped clean to reflect clearly, you need silence to cleanse your own energy field. Those who carry healing energy often carry invisible weight, unseen by others, but always holding space for others. And if that energy isn't renewed from within, it loses its clarity, becomes heavy, tired, fragile. You may have felt guilty for turning down an invitation, not replying to a message, needing time alone. But the truth is, that's not selfish. That's inner discipline. You understand that you can't offer anything pure if you're depleted. And if you don't protect your solitude like a sacred ritual, no one else will do it for you. Whether it's meditating, journaling, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence, these aren't quiet hobbies. They're the soul's healing mechanisms in action. Jung described his solitude not as withdrawal from life, but as a return to another reality, one where he met himself without distraction from others' expectations. You are the same. Every time you are alone, you reconnect with your original frequency, the one scrambled by hundreds of conversations, demands, and social roles. And every time you return to that frequency, the world around you begins to realign too. You step back into life clearer, lighter, more truthful. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." That explains why you can feel so alone in a crowd, not because no one's there, but because you can't be fully yourself while among them. So you return, not to hide, but to reconnect more meaningfully, not to shrink, but to protect the inner flame from being snuffed out by the winds of the world. And if you've ever felt different because you need more alone time than others, know this: it's not a weakness. It's how you stay strong. Spiritual energy doesn't come from always being present with others. It comes from knowing when to step back and listen to yourself. Because only when you're deeply connected with yourself can you connect truthfully with the world. If you are living by this rhythm, alone but not lonely, quiet but full of power, then you carry the third sign of an awakened soul, the ability to return to your inner center as a ritual of rebirth. And that ability is the foundation for every true connection you'll ever make. Do you see yourself in these words? Do you have a sacred space that belongs to you, where you can be fully yourself, not to be seen, not to be understood, but just to be? Share it in the comments. Your story might remind someone out there that solitude is not something to fear. It is a gift. Number 4. You don't try to change others, But everything changes around you. When you've learned to return to yourself, to clear away the disturbed layers of energy and preserve your inner authenticity, you begin to emit a very different kind of vibration. It's not loud, it's not sharp, but it runs so deep that it causes everything around you to subtly shift. And here's the paradox: you're not trying to change anyone, yet things change. It's not the result of effort, it's the effect of true presence. You become a silent catalyst, someone who doesn't need to stand at the center, doesn't need to persuade, doesn't need to guide. You just need to be fully yourself, and that alone invites deep adjustments in others. Carl Gustav Jung called this the transcendent function, an internal mechanism that allows the tension between psychological opposites, conscious and unconscious, or defend herself, until one day she realized the calm and non-controlling presence of her colleague had created a space safe enough for her to let her guard down. That person never tried to change her, but their truth, the alignment between their words and actions, made it impossible for her to keep pretending. Jung believed people don't need to be saved through dogma. They awaken from within. And those who help awaken that process often don't do anything special. They simply live as themselves. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And when you do that, you don't just live for yourself. You become a living reminder to others that they can do the same." Another sign of this energy is that you don't argue, not because you lack conviction, but because you know truth doesn't need defense. When someone gets angry, you don't escalate, you stay steady. When someone doubts you, you don't justify, you remain honest. And often, strangely, that's what softens the tension, slows down the conflict, changes the relationship. This isn't influence through logic, it's influence through frequency. You've probably heard the saying, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." But energetically, you might be the center that gently pulls others toward clarity, deeper listening, greater sincerity, without a single word of force. In a world full of strategy, the absence of strategy becomes power. In a society where everyone's trying to become something, the one who dares to just be touches people more than any performance ever could. But becoming this kind of quiet catalyst isn't a role you choose. It's a state you reach after long encounters with yourself, as Jung described in the individuation process. You can't generate this effect if you're still torn, pretending, or afraid. It's your inner wholeness that creates the safe field in which others begin to thaw. And the most beautiful part? You don't control who stays with that change. Some will see you and begin their awakening. Others will walk away, unable to bear the mirror your authenticity holds up to their illusions. You don't force them. You don't cling to them, because you know your impact doesn't come from holding others close. It comes from holding yourself steady. And if they're ready, they'll change. Not because you're impressive, but because you're real. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You don't help others by shining light on them, but by being a lamp, not aiming at anyone, but real enough that those in need of light will find their way." If someone has ever said to you, "I don't know why, but I feel different around you," or "You make me want to be more real," then you carry the fourth sign: the power to influence not with words, not with intellect, but with the living, grounded energy of someone who has gone deep within. And if you are living this way, quietly, honestly, not trying to change anyone, yet watching the world shift around you, then maybe you are already the catalyst that someone else's soul has been unconsciously searching for. Have you ever seen someone change just by being around you, not because you tried, but because you were simply living your truth? Share it in the comments. Stories like these, quiet but powerful, are proof of one thing: the deepest impact doesn't come from control. It comes from the courage of simply being who you are. Number 5. You attract experiences and people who reflect your inner evolution. Not all impact is visible. Like a stone dropped into still water, you can't grasp the ripples, but you can see the lake shift. You are the same. When you show up in your true presence, you don't just change others, you shift the entire field around you. And sometimes it happens so quietly that you only notice it in hindsight. Old relationships no longer fit. Old conversations start to feel hollow, and things that once excited you now feel off-key. But don't mistake this for loss. It's not something going wrong. It's the natural reconfiguration that happens when your frequency changes. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, meaningful coincidences, events that seem random, yet carry profound messages reflecting your inner state. In Synchronicity, a causal connecting principle, he wrote, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." As you walk deeper into the process of individuation, you no longer need to search externally. Things begin to find you, not because you need them, but because you are them. Your vibrational field becomes an open invitation, drawing in people, experiences, and opportunities that resonate. No force, no chase, just resonance. Think back to a time you met someone unexpectedly, and within moments felt like you had known them forever. There's no logic to explain that familiarity, but your soul knows. Or remember the moment you finally let go of something that no longer felt right, and days later, a new door opened, quietly, perfectly aligned. That is synchronicity in motion, not the superficial law of attraction, but a deep reflective principle precisely reflect where you are on your path. Jung described this as transformation not of behavior, but of being. And once your state of being becomes coherent, you no longer need to seek. You become the magnet. You don't have to say, "I'm evolving." What shows up in your life will reflect it. Old friendships will fade without drama. New relationships will arrive right on time. Opportunities will emerge the moment you stop trying to control everything. Because true growth doesn't need to be proven, it radiates. And on the deepest level you understand, everything that happens is speaking to you. Someone rejecting you. That's the universe saying you've outgrown an old version of yourself. A door closing? That's the message. On this new frequency, you need new spaces. Even the smallest things, a chance encounter, a random quote, a song playing at just the right moment, all become sacred puzzle pieces, reminding you that you're being guided, not by logic, by resonance. And if you're seeing your outer world shift, not because you're pushing, but because you're being more honest with yourself, then know this isn't coincidence. This is the fifth sign of a powerful spiritual energy. You are no longer living by old fate, you are now living by new frequency. Have you ever experienced a coincidence that came with such perfect timing you couldn't explain it rationally? A meeting that changed your direction? A disruption that opened a door you never imagined? Share it in the comments. Maybe your story is the synchronicity someone else has been waiting for. If you see yourself in these words, if you've ever been a quiet source of healing, sensed unspoken pain, withdrawn to protect your soul, witnessed people change just by being around you, or attracted uncanny experiences as if the universe were whispering in your ear, then know this. Your energy is a rare gift in a world that's forgetting how to listen to what runs deep. You weren't meant to live like everyone else. You don't need to be special by any external standard. You are special because you are real, because you don't reject your own depth, because you move quietly with a frequency no one ever taught you, yet everyone around you can feel. And if you sometimes feel out of place, lonely, or misunderstood, remember this: real light doesn't have to be dazzling to have value. It only needs to be true. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." And you are already walking that path of awakening. Not loudly, not for show, not for recognition, but by simply choosing day after day to return inward, to stay honest, and to live in alignment with your own frequency. In doing so, you are doing something far deeper than any method or practice. You are becoming yourself. And when you live as your true self, you don't just save yourself. You quietly, gently, yet powerfully begin to change the world. There are women who, without being strikingly beautiful or speaking with ornate words, transform the atmosphere simply by their presence. People turn to look at them, unable to pinpoint why. This is not luck, nor is it a skill. It is energy, something you cannot fake, cannot force, yet everyone feels. Carl Jung called this inner congruence, when a person lives in alignment with their archetypal essence, no longer fragmented between the ego and the shadow, between the role they play and their true being. Conversely, many modern women are gradually losing their natural allure, not because they are less feminine, but because they are unconsciously blocking that energy by living disconnected from their bodies, suppressing their intuition, and chasing roles that do not belong to them. In this video, you will uncover the 7 most common mistakes disrupting your feminine energy, viewed through the unique lens of Carl Jung. More importantly, you will learn how to return to your original state, a place where you don't need to strive to be loved, where your very essence is impossible to ignore. Are you ready? Number 1. Denying the shadow. Have you ever smiled while inwardly wanting to scream? Have you nodded to be loved while your heart roared, "No"? If so, you are not alone. That is the moment you sever a part of yourself, the part Carl Jung called the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not something evil. It is not something to be eradicated. On the contrary, it is the neglected part of your soul, a collection of everything you've deemed shouldn't be, mustn't be, or isn't right, and thus locked away in the depths of your unconscious. Anger, envy, jealousy, the need for control, sensuality, personal ambition, all the things society, family, or religion taught you a woman shouldn't be, are pushed into this shadow realm. You think you've overcome it, but in truth, you've only mastered hiding it. Like an actor who has memorized their role so well, they forget their true face. You don a mask as soft as morning mist, as likable as a smile in a commercial, as kind as a rehearsed line. And day by day, that mask, seemingly your weapon, quietly erodes your soul. It doesn't just exhaust you, it kills the primal allure within you, like spraying perfume on a real flower, overpowering its natural fragrance that was already captivating. True allure does not arise from light alone. It emerges from the harmony of light and shadow. A woman who lives only in her light is like a melody of only high notes, dazzling but hollow. Like a seed in a deep forest, that beauty needs darkness to sprout. You must dare to return to yourself, not the polished version, but the raw, unfinished, damp, earthy self. This is not a journey to become more perfect, but to become more real. Not to be admired, but to let your soul breathe in its true rhythm. Have you ever felt you're living a one-note melody where everything is right, yet something unnameable feels missing? It is the shadow that provides the necessary counterweight for your light to blaze. It is the muted shades, the raw emotions, the unpolished corners, if you dare to hold them close instead of cutting them away, that create the depth that draws others in without explanation. One of the clearest signs she knows she can be jealous, but doesn't act pettily. She knows she has a wild, instinctual dark side, and she embraces it as a sacred part of herself. If you're wondering how to begin this process, the answer lies not in fixing, but in observing. Start by noticing when you're triggered, when you feel irritated, angry, envious, or insecure. Don't push it away. Ask, which part of me is speaking? And listen instead of silencing it. You can also observe your dreams, as the shadow often appears in symbolic images. Snakes, dark caves, a stranger chasing you, a wild animal, a mysterious woman in red. These are the language of the unconscious. Jung called them the hidden path to the soul. When you dare to enter the shadow, you uncover a primal strength you were taught to avoid. And you realize what disrupts the feminine is not just the rejected shadow, but also the light. Misaligned. Some energies seem powerful, but pull you away from your true essence. This is where another form of disconnection quietly emerges, when a woman is no longer trapped by weakness, but by the very strength society praises. Number 2. Over-identifying with masculine energy. There is a particular feminine energy being lost in this era, not because women are weak, but because they strive to be strong in an unbalanced way. They are rational, controlled, busy, and competitive. They are successful, independent, and sharp. But somehow, they feel empty. They struggle to connect. They sense a part of themselves has long been silent. Carl Jung called this phenomenon over-identification with the masculine archetype in the unconscious, animus possession. In every woman, Jung believed, exists an inner masculine archetype, the animus. This is the part of logic, reasoning, willpower, and action, and it is necessary. But when the animus is unbalanced, it becomes a possessing force, pulling a woman away from her instinctual, intuitive, emotional world, the core of primal feminine energy. She begins to live like a machine programmed for efficiency. Her schedule is as rigid as a military march. Emotions are suppressed, intuition sidelined. Every choice must be justified, logical, and beneficial. She makes decisions quickly and accurately, but gradually loses the ability to feel and be present. One of the clearest signs of animus possession is the misguided belief that I must control everything to be safe. A woman overtaken by masculine energy doesn't allow herself to let go. She doesn't trust anyone to be competent enough to take on her responsibilities. She doesn't trust anyone to love her enough to open her heart. She remains vigilant, fearing collapse if she relinquishes control. But ironically, this obsession with control disconnects her from her deepest source of strength. A woman once shared on our channel, she was accustomed to living as a leader. In intimate relationships, she always felt the men beside her were lesser than her. She longed to be loved, yet couldn't trust, couldn't allow herself to be vulnerable. Each time emotions surged, each time she wanted to lean on someone, an inner voice would say, "Don't show weakness. Stay sharp." And so she withdrew, denying the men beside her a chance to show up. She became correct, but lonely. When the animus is misaligned, it ceases to be a supporter and becomes an inner censor. It forbids you to dream. It forbids you to slow down. It forbids you to dance, to be enchanted, or to break open. It demands you rationalize every emotion, justify every decision, and know what you're doing every second. But the feminine doesn't operate this way. The feminine feels rather than measures. It moves not in straight lines, but in spirals, following the rhythm of the moon. When you live too much through logic, you become disconnected from your body, the home of intuition and sensuality. You stop feeling what is right and only know what is supposed to be. Jung emphasized that individuation is not about eliminating the animus, but recognizing and balancing it. When brought to light and no longer dominating, the animus becomes a wonderful ally. It helps you articulate thoughts, protect boundaries, and turn intuition into action. But the center of operation must remain the feminine soul, not the unfeeling control panel of logic. Imagine yourself as a river, soft, rushing, adaptable. When the animus supports you appropriately, it is like sturdy banks guiding your flow. But when it dominates, it builds a dam, blocking the water, stalling emotions, and stopping the vibrancy of feminine energy. You are no longer yourself, only the shell of a once supple river. The journey back doesn't begin by abandoning work, shedding responsibilities, or doing less. It starts by asking yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I fear losing control? Am I listening to my body, or just the voice in my head? When you begin to recenter the feminine, everything shifts. Life slows, but deepens. The voice in your head softens, replaced by a sense of vacant. When you're jealous, it's waving to call you back to a part of yourself you've abandoned. Every emotion is a living signal, not to be eradicated, but to be heard. Perhaps you've met women like this, or maybe you are one. They never cry, even after a relationship ends. They take pride in this. They are strong, resilient, and unshaken. But inwardly, they lose the ability to connect with their true emotions, and with it, the natural rhythm of their femininity. For softness doesn't come from outward appearances, but from the free-flowing current of emotions within. Emotions are like layers of molten rock beneath the earth. When you allow them to shift, seep, or escape as gentle steam or small streams of lava, the ground regulates itself. But if you seal every volcanic vent, stifling every tremor, thinking you've gained control, you're living atop a massive pressure cooker. The surface may seem calm for years until it erupts. No one predicts the moment. No one sees it coming. But when it happens, it doesn't just crack the surface. It tears apart everything you've built with discipline, facades, and logic. And you're left wondering, why did I shatter over something so small? Jung emphasized, no one becomes enlightened by imagining light alone, but by making the darkness conscious. In that darkness, emotions are the first light, but you must dare to look at them, not to eliminate them, but with profound respect. One woman shared that she always practiced positive thinking. She studied spirituality, the law of attraction and healing. She never complained. But after years, her body began to sound alarms. Insomnia, heart palpitations, unexplained exhaustion. Working with a therapist, she realized that in striving to stay positive, she had suffocated her true emotions, denying herself pain, weakness, or authenticity. When you reject your emotions, you reject a part of your soul. You become a refined replica of paralysis. Everything you do may be correct, but lifeless. Like a dance, technically perfect but soulless. Others may see you, but they cannot feel you. Emotions are the invisible thread that creates attraction, the force that makes others pause, listen, and be drawn in. Feminine energy doesn't come from constant gentleness. It comes from the capacity to embrace all of yourself, including the parts that aren't beautiful or healed. A truly captivating woman can sit in her sadness without fleeing. She can let tears fall without shame. She can be angry without losing the softness in her heart. In that raw honesty, she becomes deeply human and deeply alive. The process of returning to your emotions doesn't need to be loud. It begins in moments when you pause, refrain from reacting or rationalizing, and simply listen. Place a hand on your chest when sadness rises. Sit still when anger surges. Write down everything you feel without judgment. And tell yourself, this emotion has a reason to exist. When you allow yourself to live with your emotions, you open the gate to your primal feminine essence, wild, flowing, soft, and true to its core. That is where the deepest allure is born, not from skills or theories, but from living fully in each moment within your body and heart. But living authentically with your emotions requires something deceptively simple, yet complicated. You must dare to live as yourself, unfiltered by others' gazes. And this is another obstacle many modern women unconsciously stumble over. Number 4, living through the eyes of others. Have you ever entered a room and instinctively adjusted your energy, expressions, or words to fit the atmosphere? Have you posted a photo not because you loved it, but because you knew others would find it acceptable? Have you smiled, nodded, or agreed, while deep inside you wanted to say, "That's not me"? If so, you've encountered what Jung called the persona, the psychological mask we unconsciously wear to be accepted in society. To an extent, the persona is necessary. It helps you maintain civility in public, navigate roles as a mother, colleague, partner, or mentor. But the problem begins when you become the mask itself, losing touch with who you are when no one else's eyes are upon you. Living through others' eyes is like standing before a two-way mirror. You think you're looking out at the world, but you're only seeing the reflection you believe others want. You adjust your hair, posture, even emotions, not to feel, but to look okay. Each time, you chip away at your true self. Bit by bit, you fade to yourself, though outwardly, you may still be praised or admired. Carl Jung called this the tragedy of the social ego. When you become so attached to the persona, you can no longer distinguish your true instincts from rehearsed responses. A woman caught in this trap may be highly successful, widely loved, but when alone, she feels empty, lost, directionless, because the external gaze has defined her for so long that she no longer knows what she wants, needs, or loves. Studies in behavioral psychology on reinforcement learning show that the brain prioritizes behaviors validated by society over those reflecting the possessed by it. For example, a woman who rejects the lover archetype, fearing labels like immoral or dangerous, may become cold, rational, and controlling. But the lover doesn't disappear. It emerges in vivid, sensual dreams, in obsessions with unattainable men, or jealous, possessive behaviors she doesn't understand. Imagine within you a grand stage. Each feminine archetype is a character with a role: the burning lover, the embracing mother, the mystical witch, the innocent maiden. If you allow only one to speak and force the others to sit in darkness, you stifle your entire feminine symphony. A performance with one instrument cannot move hearts. A woman living from only one part of herself cannot radiate the full, layered, sensual, unpredictable allure. From a psychoanalytic view, denying an archetype doesn't just limit outward expression, it severs the unconscious flow that enables adaptation, creativity, and wholehearted love. You may seem fine to others, but inside, you no longer breathe in your rhythm. Jung said that a woman unaware of her inner feminine archetypes will be controlled by them unconsciously. This is why you find yourself drawn into repetitive relationships, inexplicable emotions, or uncontrollable reactions. When you don't actively engage with your archetypes, they speak in their way, through scripts you cannot control. Reconnecting with your feminine archetypes doesn't come from studying a system or playing a role. It comes from listening to yourself daily. What do I need today? Who am I today? Which part of me is being forgotten? Some days you'll need to be the queen, firm, commanding. Some days you'll need to be loved like a maiden. At times you'll need to tap into the witch within, deep, mystical, and unexplained. And none are wrong. When you let all your archetypes live with and through you, you don't just become captivating, you become whole, not one-dimensional, not formulaic, not easily understood, but deep. And that depth is what makes others unable to look away, not because you're perfect, but because you live from a depth no one can feign. But for those archetypes to truly integrate, not fragmented, not controlled, you need a greater journey, one not for the ego seeking to please the world, but for the soul longing to return home. This is the journey of individuation, the red thread Jung saw running through the soul's maturation in every human. Number 7. Not embarking on the journey of individuation. According to Jung, no journey is more significant than individuation, the process by which a person moves from an ego shaped by society, expectations, and fears to becoming a whole, unique, and unrepeatable self. Jung did not speak of perfection, but of truth. It's not about becoming someone, but returning to who you already were before the world began whispering in your ear, "You should be like this," or "You need to do that." For women, failing to embark on the journey of individuation means remaining trapped in a cycle of roles. Yet all these roles, no matter how much they're applauded, share one truth. They are not you. They are shells stitched together with the threads of expectation and patched with the fear of being left behind. If you live within them forever, you gradually become hollow inside, even if you shimmer outwardly. Picture a candle encased in frosted glass. The flame within still burns, but its light never fully radiates. You feel you're living, yet lack connection, resonance, or a deeper reason to breathe. The more people praise you for being fine, the less you feel truly present in your own life. Jung called this a half-lived existence, where you're accepted by society but not by yourself. Only your soul knows who you're truly meant to become. And if you don't undertake that journey, no one can do it for you. Individuation is the process of integrating all the fragmented parts of your psyche, those rejected, silenced, or labeled as wrong or bad. It's a journey of confrontation where you must peel off each mask, each beautiful net of armor you've worn to be accepted by others. It's not easy, but it's the only path to unleashing your true life force. This is the symbol of individuation. You must enter your forest where there are no guides, no guarantees, no companions, to reclaim your original inner voice. A voice muffled by years of living in the shoulds, the rights, the safe. Only when you hear that voice again do you become truly magnetic, for you no longer live to please the world, but as a flow that cannot be confined. Feminine energy, intuition, softness, receptivity, and creative vitality cannot thrive in a programmed soul. It only blossoms when you begin to strip away what isn't you from your body, your language, your choices. To do this, you must have the courage of one who turns inward. That's when you begin to live truly, not by a map, but by an inner compass. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that privilege doesn't fall from the sky. It demands that you bravely step out of the psychological safety zone, where people applaud the polished version of you, to seek the raw, vibrant version no one